Happy Friday, everybody. We have made it through to the end of the first full week in September. Today is September 8th, 2023, and this is your Friday planning video. Tales from the Front Line leads off today, and as you know, this is where I bring you some topics that have been visited by at least one of my recent meetings. Let's state early, I do not give personal tax advice, nor do I give legal advice. Instead, I'll share some ideas and ask that you connect your tax and legal professionals with me, and then we can work together to make sure that any of these ideas are for you or maybe they're not. That brings me to today's tale. I know that it is really less and less that it happens in the car, who actually listens to the radio anymore, not to mention all the people whose commute has changed from the rush hour on the highway to moving from the bedroom to the living room in the work from home scenario. That's subject for a whole different day. There are still plenty of radio and TV shows, podcasts, and YouTube videos all focused on investing. I'm sure that if you listen to any satellite radio or any streaming service with ads not blocked, you've heard the "if you're investing in any way but this, you're stupid" advertisements. Overall, I want to talk today about the advice for the masses. This is an important topic and one they had a conversation about this week. I've had it so many times. I'm not suggesting you do not educate yourself by listening to or watching investment programs. I know I do. Just in the past few weeks, I've been on a plane a couple times. I've watched movies about the great financial crisis, Lehman Brothers, and even Bernie Madoff. Much, of course, about what are not good ideas, but there's a lot to learn. And sometimes just to be entertained by some of these dramatic depictions of what was going on. That's what you get. So what I want to address is the specific buy and sell suggestions you get from some online and over-the-air shows. As Gordon Gekko said in the movie Wall Street, the most valuable commodity I know is information, and I hold to that. But there's a line that the information crosses over and enters into the investment advice range. Just to be clear, I know that I'm talking about listening to advice, as I share advice with you on a video myself. Let me explain where the care must be taken, or at least it should be taken. You've heard them say it, or you've seen them. This is the time to buy X sector or stock, or this stock is the one that everyone should own. These are what I'm referring to. Let's put a bow on this and move on. This is simple. When that radio advisor gives that advice as generic advice for all of the listeners, there's one thing missing. And we know this is a problem not just in this situation, but in general. That is accountability. That advisor is not going to take the credit or the blame if the action goes bad. And if it goes good first, they're not going to call you and tell you to unwind the action or take profits. Same on the downside. Simply, please take everything you hear and review it with me or whomever. But it is important that you check and double check this to see if it is or it is not proper for you and your plan. As I say a lot, your number is your number, your plan is your plan. At any given time, that plan can pivot and change. That is why we need to stay in touch, and why the first question in review meetings that we have is your question. On written agendas, I usually leave number one blank. That's for what you've been thinking about, maybe for weeks or maybe on the way to the meeting. It's also why the planning procedure we speak about often is set the goals, establish the plan, execute the plan, check on the plan to see if changes need to be made, make changes, check the goal, and see if any changes are necessary on that front as well. This could be a Tales from the Front Line video all by itself, not for today. Moving on to another thing. Let's follow up on credit cards. We've spoken about those many times. There's even a blog on the website about it. There's so much to talk about. If you find yourself using cash less and less, you're not alone. Did you know that there is no federal law that says that shops need to accept cash? LA this month proposed a ban on cashless businesses, arguing that they exclude certain types of people in the community. Bans like this are already in existence in San Francisco, New York, Philadelphia, and DC. Cash transactions make up only 20% of U.S. payments in 2021. As a recent study by Square said, 4 in 10 Americans were not using cash at all in a typical week. You can imagine that credit card companies are not too happy about these cashless bans, as they earn fees with every transaction. I'm sure if we've had a credit card conversation, you've heard me tell you that people spend more when they use credit cards, even when they pay them off every month. This has been studied by so many firms and companies. According to a 2018 U.S. consumer payment study by TSYS, a payment processing company, based on average purchase size, they found that consumers spend 83% more with credit cards than they were with cash. Now, I have to admit, I question that data. That's a big number. But think of the source on this. So rest assured, if you're honest with yourself, there's a good chance that you're spending more with your credit card than you would if you actually had to pay in cash. And in case you wonder who's to blame, Diners Club was the first credit card issued in 1950. This is something you should pay attention to. I could talk about this for its own video, but please refer to the blog. Ask me if you have any more questions. Let's end with one more idea: stress test. No, I don't mean going and taking a guest spot teaching teaching high school boys, though that is a good definition. I want to suggest that all financial plans we work on, with long-term plans as to when we can retire, what we can expect to get in income, and even where we can live, that we stress test that data often. There's so much that will come into play, especially the longer you go, so we should spend a bit of time reviewing some of the possible scenarios, and not just the "I bought NVIDIA a year ago" test. I mean the good, the bad, the ugly, checking them all. In many cases, the outcomes will bring some ideas and changes we can discuss. Remember, why do I have planning videos every week? Not just to get my YouTube viewership up. Planning is dynamic, and there are always changes that will affect how we plan and what the plan looks like. Please stay in touch. Let's keep watching the moving parts. More news coming again with the Monday market update, and next Friday with the Friday planning video. You can find these along with a lot more information on the website. Stay in touch and have a great weekend.